I was trying to get it how I live. I want them dead presidents. I want to pull up.
When I was real young, we didn't have blacktop roads. We didn't have names on our streets. We had no crime in our area.
The people on those days,
we never had any fear of anything.
Time artist, ex-guard, he said grind harder, learn from every time you ever fail. If it never failed, just grind smarter. Iron sharpen, you the dag on they hindquarters and they all acting. Rap game, I'm a pallbearer. Kill may get a call after. First look, it was all laughter. Kevin Gates, no small matter, made men believe when they didn't believe. Dive in the crowd, no safety holders. Got in the booth, no safety on it. Aiming, I shoot for the stars. Got the award, I ain't win no awards. Only meaning one thing, don't get tired, I go hard. I was trying to get it how I live. I want them dead presidents. I want to pull up, head spin, get it, get fly. I got 6 jobs, I don't get tired. I don't get tired. I don't get tired. I don't get tired. Get it, get fly. I got 6 jobs, I don't get tired. The woman I love on an air mattress. We share a car, my hair nappy. Couldn't afford flights, no air travel. Still rice crispy like sand gravel. Walking testament of what can happen the moment you follow your heart. Keeping the faith even when it get dark. They say give up as I tell them get lost. 6 weeks ago I just purchased a farm. Most likely the one that you cannot afford. Right foot on the gas. Balenciaga be accelerating. I'm doing the dance. She that I'm with, started be doing her shit. And it's okay to say that she bad. Look to the right and I give her a glance. Ready to go, be no great. I was trying to get it how I live. I want them dead presidents. I want to pull up, head spin, get it, get fly. I got 6 jobs, I don't get tired. I don't get tired. I don't get tired. I don't get tired. Get it, get fly. I got 6 jobs, I don't get tired.
Only meaning one thing, don't get tired, I go hard. Don't play with the hustle, you eat or you starve. Don't mimic, pretend to just be who you are. I ain't never changed, been like this from the start. Only meaning one thing, don't get tired, I go hard. Don't play with the hustle, you eat or you starve. Don't mimic, pretend to just be who you are.
Get it, get fly. I got 6 jobs, I don't get tired.
I grew up in the farm country, a farm area, and the people grew their crops, and they would get together. You know, people in the area would get together and clean the greens and share. And the people got on real well. The people, we would leave our doors open, and the people got on pretty well. And when we went to school, we do a bus. We went to a consolidated school, a bus to Hanville. Well, at first, I went to school in Nama. That was a little, what color was that? Gray? Is that a gray schoolhouse? Everybody, all the elementary school kids went to the same little elementary school. Our aunt, my dad's sister, was the principal. Her name was Lydia Pierre. And the whole while, in terms of my memory, that school existed, she was the principal until she died. And from first to fourth was in one room. It was a two-room building with a hallway. And from first to fourth was in one room, and from fifth to eighth was in the other. And after we left that school, but I guess it was before I finished elementary school, we went to junior high school at Culver High.
Okay.
And we were bused. All the children were bused. It wasn't a matter of feeling. Nobody asked us how we felt. It was just something we had to accept.
Okay.
If you wanted an education, which was an improvement over when Irvin went to school, because they had no grades. Junior high school or high school. So if you wanted to go to high school, you had to go to New Orleans, which is what, well, she's not in the family, but Daddy Irvin's wife did. And when the only pleasure we had, because they didn't have sweet shops or things like that for kids. And some of these areas had a little space for dancing, and that was the recreation to dance. And we would go up on the levee, and where the levee, and on the other side of the levee is the Mississippi River. You could see the river very clear. You can't see it clear anymore because the last time I went, it had a lot of trees. One of the things we did for recreation was to walk along the levee. We played softball in the church, you know where the church is, and there was a hall there, and this is where the kids played ball, and there was a pasture in back of where we lived, and we played ball and sometimes rode bikes and stuff like that. Things changed when I came along. Irvin was earlier, and most of the people were farmers, and as you say, they grew crops. And I guess the best way to describe my dad was that he was a truck farmer. Well, of course, he didn't have a truck, but he would travel to New Orleans, and he would sell his vegetables. And later on, he worked for the parish. Okay. Whatever needs to be done. But early on, very early on, Irvin knows this a lot better than I do. I was only told this, but my dad made barrels. My mother, as far as I know, never really worked. The only thing she mentioned to me at one point that she sold Avon products, which was it was a surprise to me, because I never thought of my mother being outside of the house. My mother was a person, she was a quiet lady. She loved her children. She would do anything for any of her children. But she was not one to go out in the neighborhood. The only person that I remember, and maybe she was a little different when Irvin was coming up, but the only person that I remember her visiting on a regular basis was a lady, her name was Miss Rosette. And I understand from my mother that this lady was a very good, close friend of her mother. And that was the only person that I could remember her visiting. And once I got married and left home, she would come to visit me. But I would call her a homemaker, a family person. And she and my dad got along very well. I never felt like they would separate. I always felt like we had a close family, a caring parent. And they would have their little disagreements, like everybody else, but she always supported him outside of the home. And she stuck by him. And that's what I remember. And I remember she loved to sit on the porch, and she would read the paper, sitting in a rocking chair. And my dad would read the Bible for hours every day. And that was their pastime. But my dad, also, I want to say this about my dad. He was a grassroots politician, and he saw that everybody in the area, that they registered to vote and that they voted. And we would have these, we didn't have black politicians, and we would have these white politicians, most Cajun, coming in and out of the house. And my dad was the type, he was very outgoing, and he talked to everybody. And he walked everywhere he went. He would leave home, walk down the lane, that's what we call them, lane, not streets. And he would go from one end of Ama to the other. And he would stop and talk to everybody, whether it's black or white. He would talk to everybody. And he was very well liked. And he was also, Irvin mentioned the church. He was an associate minister of the church. He was the superintendent of the Sunday school. And every Sunday, I would go to Sunday school with my dad. And he always had a little following, and the kids always looked up to him. And he had a sense of humor, which was very good. And one of the things that I think about when I think of my dad, my mother was the type of person you could go to and tell whatever you needed to tell, and she would keep it secret if you chose to, she would not reveal what you would tell her. My dad was, on the other hand, he didn't mind expressing it. No matter what you told him, he would share it with the family, which as I grew up, I kind of didn't like that too much. As I got older, I understood better that it's better to communicate and to share than it is to, just to keep things to yourself. I'm a social worker, and I work in a mental health center. And I did my student internship in Baton Rouge, at the Baton Rouge Mental Health Center. And I found out when I was there, we used to see clients on the first floor. The black people, even though it was a state agency, was not allowed to go on the third floor. And I came back to New Orleans. They tried to get me to work there, but I did not want to stay in Baton Rouge. Well, I was married, and my family was down here. I was the only black social worker in this facility. In fact, I was the only black social worker in mental health. And I saw how people interacted with each other. And they didn't always get it. But one of the things I think about, and I thought about then, was how we were taught to share. And I looked at my parents. I think my mother was very ethical, and she had more ethics and more values than anyone that I have come in contact with, whether they were professionals or otherwise. I appreciate that. I feel like I kind of act more like my mother. And after my mother passed, I felt like I gained some of her wisdom, and I felt stronger in terms of my values. I feel that this is what she gave to me.
But it was a lot of different in those times, days and these. A lot of people more love, more get together with their neighbors, and you could talk to the kids on the streets. But nowadays you can't do that.
Right.
And when I was in school, we didn't have no school bus. We had to go to school, walk where we went, and had a little school in there. I would agree with from second or first to 8th grade. And after that, you have to go to your altar to finish your education. And a lot of people lived together. During our church years, we used to get baptized in the Mississippi River across from on the other side of the river. And we'd get our clothes, come back to the church, and get dressed, and then go in there and have service. And it's a different time than now, and when I was coming up. But it was a lot safer, and there was more love than it had done today. Well, my parents taught me a lot of how to get along in life and how to love. And they taught me about the scripture. While my daddy was a preacher, and every Sunday he used to go to church. And at an early age, he told me about joining church and serving God. Mm-hmm. And I thought about that, and one day I just said, I'm gonna get religion, and got baptized. And from that day forward, I'm turning over and on to God's unchanging name. Raised on vegetable. They raised they had different fruit trees, and they would get the meat from the hog that they would raise, and every winter to kill hog and distribute them among the rest of the neighbors. And if they had vegetable, they would do, they pass it out and live together and enjoy themselves together. There wasn't no light after it get dark. Everybody had to go home, couldn't play no more. But those days is real different than it is right now.
My daddy would get on his knees and say his prayers and look like he'd be there for an hour. I said, I wonder when is he going to get up? I guess he was praying for all of his children because all of us turned out to be very fine ladies and men. My parents was loving people, very Christian people. They went to church all the time. My father was the superintendent of the Sunday school. At that time, they would ring the bell in order for you to get ready to go to church, or when it was time for church to begin. It was fun growing up in Amma. We had to make our own amusements. Like we would play games. We had a big pasture like in the back of the house. We would go out there and play ball, play games. And when I was growing up, we didn't have television, so we had to listen to the radio and use our imagination to figure out or think what was going on in the stories. My mother would cook 3 meals a day, and I loved to eat. She was a very good cook. One thing I remember we used to look forward to when I was growing up was that my daddy would give annual trips to Lincoln Beach. Well, Amma has grown up a lot since I was there, since I grew up. They have a lot of modern homes, beautiful homes out there. And I imagine they have more to do than, well, they still don't have too much to do in Amma, but they do have a lot of beautiful homes. And people just enjoy themselves by entertaining themselves by visiting each other and going to church or whatever. So they have, when I was growing up, they didn't have too many new homes there. The homes were old. And they also didn't have street names. Now all the streets have a name. So we didn't have that when I was growing up. I left Amma for a better life. To pursue my career. I didn't think I could have a career in Amma as far as going to college because my parents were very poor. They could not send me to college. So I came to California. When I came to California, education was just about free. So I went to school, got my degree, and I became an independent person. And that I'm appreciative of. For the future generation, I advise you to think about what you want to do, have a dream, pursue your dream, make a goal for yourself, and follow your dream because it's nothing that you cannot do. So with that in mind, I hope everybody have some sort of career that they can become independent of themselves and don't have to depend on others.
My concept of a reunion is that the family gets together and it's a time when we share, and there's a lot of love, hopefully, in the family, and we share the love, camaraderie, and we work together. And when I was coming up, like Irving and Genevieve and Alfred, and Agnes, they were all out of the house. I didn't get to interact with them. I felt like my mother, in terms of keeping us together, tried to instill upon them that we should help each other and work together and support each other. And it might have been harder for the older kids because then, they were coming back and trying to share things with the younger ones. But the important thing I guess I got from that is that you support each other and that you remember that you're part of a family and you work together, and you remember always where you came from.
It means a whole lot. We have come a long ways, and Lord blessed us, enabled us to move forward.
We've come a long way from where we began. Oh, I'll tell you all about